What is going on, everybody? Hope you are having a great week so far. Before we start the podcast, don't forget to listen to my new record, The Hymn. It is out now on Spotify, Apple, all the Beatport, all the usual places where you listen to music nowadays. So podcast time, and this week I've got Eli and Charlie from Soul Clap. I love this podcast. I love their music so much. I love what they're about. I met them probably about 5 years ago, I think on Holy Ship, and I loved their sets, love what they play, and I've always loved their music. They've recently just brought out an album, in April this year. They brought an album called World Transformation Force. I've listened to it a lot, but I listened to it in full in the gym today from like start to finish, and it just flows amazing. The message on it is amazing. The music is just organic and fresh and pulls from so many influences, which is amazing. So I wanted to get them on the podcast and talk to them about it, and just talk to them about life. They're doing some amazing things with the environment, and pushing a stronger message to not just music, but just in the world, really. And it's really important. We need more people like these boys. We had a few sound issues at the beginning, but it all clears up. So just skip on if it annoys you. But great conversation. Without further ado, Charlie and Eli from Soul Clap. And we are live. Charlie,
yo,
Eli, Soul Clap boys. What's cooking?
What's up, Will?
How's it going?
Can't complain. Just enjoying this hot, humid summer weather in upstate New York this week.
You got hot and humid up there? I got hot and humid down here in Miami.
It's always hot and humid down there.
I'm in Detroit, and it's hot and humid as well. It's pretty much just hot and humid everywhere.
When Eli and I first started coming to Miami, I mean, I know it's like he's up there, but I just want to just make Eli giggle with this one. But like, whenever we would go to WMC, because we've been going to WMC, like 20 plus years now, right? I think I was, because I'm like graduated a year up before you, and you were still in school, or were we both
you were in college too? We both were in college. 2001.
We were skipping college classes a week to come down here. We had no idea what the heck was going on. But what we did know was that the weather is so humid here that if you're a gentleman, and I'm sorry to start our podcast with such a nasty note, but you have to pack like baby powder when you go to Miami if you're going to be walking up and down Collins and Ocean Drive all day long.
Just get those balls like powdered up.
We called it the Miami chafe.
Yeah.
And it was no joke. We come back like waddling from side to side. We'd be walking around all these parties.
How good is it? The first few times you go to WMCs, which for anybody listening doesn't know what WMCs are, it's the Miami Music Week now. But how amazing are those first couple of times you go? Because I remember the first time I went, I didn't have a fucking clue what I was doing. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know anything. It was the best.
Us either. We booked our first hotel. We booked like a Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
And now I know it's the Holiday Inn, like right by the Soho House.
It's in Surfside, dude. It's in Surfside.
No. Didn't we book like way up in like Aventura or something?
No, I think it was Surfside.
It was Surfside. Anyway, yeah. Surfside at that time, which was like 2001, that was way too far north.
Yeah. Still is.
Way too far. We were like, we might as well have been
in Fort Lauderdale. Yeah.
That's like where we stay now. That's where like I go stay now with my family, like, so we can chill on the beach, with kids. It's like not where you're trying to stay.
Not in the thick of it.
Get in and out of the parties.
No way.
Yeah,
we blew it so big time that year, but
I had no idea.
We found a way.
The parties were amazing, right?
But you remember, we checked in and we're like, where the heck are we? We blew it, and we checked right out.
Yeah.
And then we found that spot on Collins.
The White Law.
The White Law. Oh, the White Law. Yeah. And it was jumping, dude. Oh, the good old days. The White Law was jumping, and then right next door was like the Fairwind or something. And I remember we had stumbled over there. We're like, what are we doing? We walked over, and remember it was like this little lobby. It was like outdoor patio, and DJ Sneak was playing.
But like at that time, even like, early 2000s Winter Music Conference. I think before that too, all the parties were in the hotels on South Beach.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like downtown was not, it didn't even like,
No.
space at that time was just like, cheesy
Nothing.
after hour. Like, I guess like maybe looking back like Progressive and like the big room.
Yeah, if you wanted to
house,
see like,
but like
Sasha or something like that.
Yeah, like it wasn't cool. Whereas like all the cool things was like the lobby parties in South Beach with all the real house DJs, Masters at Work and all those guys.
Were there pool parties then? Like, were the pool parties big? Because I wasn't around then. My first time was 2010, I think.
Yo, we played the Clevelander.
Yeah, that was like our first WMC gig a couple
Really?
years later. We were like, yeah, we're playing the Clevelander. Woo!
My first ever WMC, I can't remember where I played, but all I remember was I met Ron Carroll.
Yo.
And we
That sounds about right.
we went to we were at some apartment, and then we were all going to a club, and there was like 8 of us, and Ubers weren't around then, and you could barely get a taxi in Miami at the time. So Ron had a car. So literally like 8 of us got in a car, and I was practically like on Ron's lap whilst he was driving with like 6 other people in the car, and you're just like, what the fuck are we doing? But hey, Miami's just, you're allowed to do stuff like that in Miami.
Dude, well, I mean, not allowed, but look, they won't turn the other, they won't bat an eye at you if you do. I'll tell you though, that you're talking about being unable to catch taxis in Miami. That is no joke, dude.
It's terrible.
This town is hilarious with taxis. Hilarious. And now it's like kind of weird because of the car services taking over like Uber and
I mean but that's an example of like there was this opening in the market and Uber just like slid right in because it was impossible.
Unreliable. You'd be like lucky, and I think this is so funny for anyone that really understands Miami, like how unreliable. You like call the dispatch for a real taxi, they'll be like, yeah, taxi's on the way, and they're like probably just having a laugh, put it on mute and like laughing at you.
I had one good experience in a taxi in Miami. One, which was right after Nelson Mandela died. We played a gig and like I hadn't slept and got picked up at the hotel, and it was a Haitian driver, as many drivers in Miami are, but he was very like listening on the radio about Mandela passing in what's the French, it's not patois. Patois is like Jamaican. The Haitian.
It's Haitian
language. It's like almost like French, but
Creole.
So he was listening to a broadcast, Creole. He was listening to a broadcast about Mandela passing, and we started talking about this when they played this song that was just the most beautiful song about Mandela, like by a Haitian band, like a compa band.
Oh, nice.
And so then, I heard this song, like we both started crying, and we had this amazing personal moment about like, how important Mandela was to so many people around the world in all different countries. So that was a beautiful universal love moment.
You should have got his number, man. You guys could like support each other in dire times.
Well, I ended up buying the record, so I always have a memory of him.
It's a strong story, that.
We pop the link. Give him the link to the song. I want to hear that song.
Yeah, I want to hear
Dig it
that.
up.
You could probably just play it now, and then everyone.
You
can
got
hear
it. You got it ready. Is a compa song about Mandela?
Yeah, it is. I need to find I don't remember off the top of my head where it is. I just need to find I have to find the record. I'll find it. After the show. After the show, you can drop the link there so people can check it.
I'll put it in the comment section.
too.
How do you boys work together when you're writing music? Do you like go and stay in each other's places, or do you work remotely?
Yeah, I mean, I think whenever there's a major Soul Clap project, we try to come together, and then the rest of the year, we're just like working from our respective studios. I think I found a real solace in music production. It's just something that brings me a lot of peace and I love that creative space. As you can see, I'm now in my look. I got these stands. Big shout out to
great.
Justin Martin,
It was great.
who put me onto this stand company from Germany.
Yeah, they're great stands. I tried to order some in lockdown, but they sold out. So
What?
Yeah.
No, lie. Just lie.
Maybe they're back in. Maybe they're back in now. You know,
they're in stock. You probably did you want a funny colorway or something?
No. I tried to get them, but they were sold out. And
I just did this like a month ago.
No, yeah, this was like. Yeah, thanks for that. I'll put it in.
Yeah, that's the Mandela truck.
This was like 3 months ago.
Okay.
And it was like a wait time for ages, and I was like, no. And
really?
Then, yeah.
I'm lucky.
Of course, there's all this crazy supply chain stuff, and everybody's trying to like build their studio during lockdown.
And also Germany and because now England kind of came out of Europe. Like Germany was like.
I really got lucky.
Fuck
I had
you,
no
England.
problem. It was like 6 days later they came.
I got my dad to like build me like some crazy stand instead. So it was like, it's kind of better. Cool. Yeah, it's kind of better. But
your dad's nice like that?
Yeah, he's good. He's good like that.
Yo, shout out to Mr. Clarke.
Carpenter.
Smash.
Carpenter Clarke.
Yeah, his dad was a carpenter, so he's kind of like pretty handy with his carpentry skills, which is good.
Good skills to have. Yeah. I've learned now with my complete lack of handiness living in the country.
Yeah, you have to learn, don't you?
Playing catch up all the time.
You're good at making lists, though, Eli. You're really good at lists, and you're really good at packing a trunk.
Doesn't really help you when you need to build
trunk
stuff.
of a car. If anyone ever needs the trunk of their car, like proper, they got a lot of stuff, and you're
packing suitcases too.
Yeah, but do you not think like packing suitcases?
That's true. You're also a master suitcase packer.
Packing suitcases as a DJ, you have to get good at. Otherwise, it's just game.
This
over.
Dude has never got good at that.
What? Come on, Charlie.
No, I'm not noise. I'm noise. I'm not Eli level, but I'm noise. You're a noise clothes folder of clothes.
How do you fold? Eli, how do you fold?
Eli worked at Abercrombie and Fitch, all right? Don't get it twisted.
Yeah, I had a summer of practice in the stockroom. Stocked. They wouldn't let me on the floor, though, because I had my ears pierced and my labret pierced. But my friend was working in the stockroom, and he was like, yo, come get a job. We can hang out. So I was just folding clothes for the summer.
You're noise at clothes folding.
And I fold. I do the arms in, and then the half folds, and then like 3 folds. So then it's like really easy to pack it together because the rolling up is annoying because you're not going to keep it rolled up at home.
I do the rolled.
3 folds like at home. I'm a roller, and it's basically the same space as rolling it up.
I'm a roller.
I can't get it like Eli. He's nice with it. So I'll roll.
Have you done the military roll? Has someone got a fan going on in the background? Because something's really loud.
It might be my computer fan. Also, my daughter is freaking out right now.
Do you need to go check her out?
I'm gonna go check on what's happening. Yeah, can we just do a pause on the record? I mean, I guess you can always.
It's right. We can just keep going. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Do your thing. It's like chill. Oh, there we go.
Was it him?
Yeah.
What's he got going on there?
God
he got
knows.
a new computer. What's he running over there?
Like an Atari, by the sounds of it. But no, I do. Can you do the military roll on your suitcase?
What's the military roll?
So you roll it and then fold it on each other, so you can get a T-shirt like tiny.
Holy shit!
Kill Frenzy taught me it, but I forgot how to do it. And Kill Frenzy would like kill me because we did Australia together, and he literally just came with like a tiny rucksack, and he had and he would like do washing in the hotel room and like scrub his clothes in the shower and then just hang them up just to dry.
That's so funny. But what does he wear? Just T-shirts?
One white T-shirt.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, yeah, if I wanted to, that's the other. Like, if you want to like throw fashion into your game, and you want to have some fashion on the road and look unique at variety of shows with various things that can't be wrinkled, then it comes into it. But yes, if we were all going into our gigs with, black on black or something, or just like one white T-shirt, then sure, yeah, I could also show up with like a fanny pack or whatever.
Do you travel with a lot of clothes then?
I mean, not a lot of clothes, but I like to try. If I can avoid checking luggage, it would be ideal. But then again, we're playing with vinyl, so.
Oh, do you always play with vinyl?
As much as possible.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when Eli and I, when we did this Hard Fest last 2 weeks ago, which was crazy, by the way.
It looked wild.
Banging, dude. I think that was probably our best like American festival set. We're just, I don't know, it's just something just the stars aligned for us that day.
It looked wild, man. I saw some videos and I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah, just like the rave gods smiled upon us. But we wouldn't play vinyl there. That's like, you know, on a big stage, it's like, unfortunately, it's digi. But for the club, for the all night plays, the club plays, when possible.
Yeah. What's the reasoning of not playing on vinyl on the big stages?
It's just too unreliable.
Yeah.
Sonically, like, you don't want to like go up there and have 10,000 people standing in front of you and bring a record into the mix and just hear that like feedback, bass vibration. I mean, just people. I don't know why it's this way, because look, you know, we're all coming from the same culture, and there wasn't digital then. It was all vinyl. It just must be either the sound systems got louder, or people just aren't taking into account the fact that you need to really have a vibration-free surface.
The thing is that if most DJs aren't playing wax, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if it's not necessary, I think sound guys have just moved further and further away from it. Obviously, there's some festivals you go to and that are kind of geared more towards those kind of DJs.
Playing wax at the dope festival is tight.
Right. But I think especially in the US, there's like, you know, there's no chance of playing.
When you're the only asshole playing records, then you're really the asshole.
I also think the crowd kind of nowadays probably don't kind of understand it as much. So if
they may not, but I'll tell you what, like when you're playing a smaller show and people that are new see vinyl spinning, they're like, whoa,
what the fuck is this?
I think there's some respect to it.
Eli,
I also think like it's nice to have the creative.
I hear it again too.
Eli,
I think it's your fan.
It's your laptop, man. I think.
Shit, huh?
Or I think it.
What do you got open?
It's weird because when you stepped away, it sounded great.
Right, because I muted. That's why. Let me quit some apps.
You got Dropbox open, maybe?
I always have Dropbox open.
Well,
is your mic in front of your laptop?
Yes.
Or are you using?
Let me check on the mic situation too.
You could do an external mic.
That's what I'm using right now. My Snowball.
It's weird that it's picking it up. It shouldn't be picking it up.
Maybe you switch to your laptop mic.
What about this? Is that better?
Nope.
It's like there's a feedback loop or something.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's not my fan. It's like there's some kind of feedback. Let me see what's going on here. I'll try my internal mic instead. Weird.
Respect to your mic, Will. That's like a proper podcaster mic. You got like
I'm gonna drop off and come back on.
Yeah, that's cool, man. We'll just carry on talking. Yeah, this mic's really good. Oh.
Wait, now I hear it.
Wait. One second. It was you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, what was that?
I don't know, man. Don't tell Eli it was me.
Yeah, we're just
telling it was him.
Yeah, we're just telling him it was him. What was it? Was it you? How was it?
I don't know. I just pressed mute and it went away.
That's so strange.
Weird.
Here we go. Right, nothing happened until he listens to this.
Watch this.
Okay. Well, I think what's it's like some kind of noise coming out of my computer. Wasn't it?
Weird.
What was that?
Very odd.
I think it was me, dude.
It was Charlie the whole time. No, but playing vinyl in a club is nowadays is something definitely special that you don't get to see. Is there like a reason why you guys do it? Like, do you do it for that, or is it just because you love playing vinyl?
I mean, there's a few reasons. One, like going back to the festival thing, like it is kind of nice on big festival stages to have the ability to do loops and cue points and other fun things you get to do with CDJs, and also for us to like now we've kind of like gotten really comfortable with, 2 CDJs on each side. So we each have our 2 CDJs, and we'll do, one will be playing and we'll do some other stuff. The other one can do stuff on the other CDJs.
Yeah.
And so that's like really makes sense for a festival too, I think.
Yeah.
But like for vinyl, I mean, it's always kind of been in waves, like we've always kind of experimented with different media. Like we were on Final Scratch when it first dropped, Final Crash.
Classic.
Because that was really exciting to get to try to play digital files with turntables. Like, that was before CDJs were really any good. So this was like this really exciting moment. And then since that didn't work at all, basically, we started using Serato instead. And that was amazing too for a while. Like even we were playing more open format at that time, but then even when we started touring, playing house music, we were like really comfortable with Serato and, playing Serato.
So when did it start with you guys for just go full on house music or house?
Wait, can I just throw into the mix about why vinyl is dope before we move on?
Go for it.
Which is that there are still many tracks that are only available on vinyl format. There are many classics. There are many new little small presses, small batches, bespoke batches, if you will. There is some really important content, and to me that makes that music very special.
Yeah.
And when we think back to the origins of DJing, at least for us, for me, you had to have this stuff in your on vinyl to be able to put it in your repertoire,
in your record bag.
Am I making noise again?
You're making so much noise.
You had to have it on wax. It's the only way to have it.
Yeah.
The only way to have it. I mean, that's like a crazy concept that I think listeners should really take a step back and wrap their head around. The only way to have a song was to own a physical copy of it. There is no streaming. There is no download service. There is no, let me just record it for you. Sure, you could have it on cassette, I suppose. But if you wanted to perform it, as a DJ, you had to have it on wax. And I think keeping that alive is important. And I think that I know there's some environmental implications about pressing vinyl, and I hope that this is solved soon with some new technologies. But I think there is something so special about holding a record in your hand, about feeling it, about the vinyl, the artwork, and about the carrying it to where you're going and playing it. That's the tradition.
Because you could always rip it, right? Like you could buy the thing that's only available on vinyl and rip it, but it's like nowadays, yeah. But there is something that just feels right. It feels right, and there's something about going on tour with a record bag, and really getting to know those records through that period of time, in a way that is playlists can kind of do that, but I'm always, if I don't have a tight-ish kind of collection for gigs, I have a hard time. I'm not going to play as good a set if I have too many choices.
I actually agree with that, because I remember when I used to play vinyl, you pick your selection before you go to the show, right? And that's all you've got. You can only carry a certain amount of records. You can only carry however strong you are, really, at the end of the day. And I think nowadays, now I travel with a fucking hard drive of 300 gig of music, and you just kind of have endless supplies of music. But sometimes having limitations, it actually makes things work a lot nicer in your DJ sets.
Also, I'll take the Pepsi challenge with vinyl on a right now, not all the time, but on the right conditions, when the thing is mastered right and mixed right, and all the stars are aligned. I'll take the Pepsi challenge on a piece of wax any day of the week. It just sounds better.
I think the thing with the vinyl, it's so hit and miss sometimes on that golden rule, right? So it's True. You might have the best vinyl, best mastering, best mixdown, best pressing,
and it's the worst track.
You've got that, but you're also playing it on a club that has 1210s that they haven't serviced for fucking years, or you've got shit needles, or the cabling's wrong, or the sound system isn't right. It's so hit and miss with vinyl.
This is also a big part of it too. It's it is more work in that you kind of have to sound check it, and that's why you can't really do it at these bigger festivals, because they're sound checking at 8 a.m, and you're not going to be there for the sound check. But when you go and play all night at a club, or you play an extended set, you can go before the doors open, and you can get with the sound guy, and you can figure it all out and make sure it sounds good.
Yeah.
And that's also part of it. It's a whole other level I think, you got to be committed to it if you're going to really do it.
Well, I think it goes back to what Charlie was saying with vinyl, with like you've actually got a hard copy, and it's almost adds to the art of the music, right? The music, I don't know about you guys, but when I release music, especially on my own label, is like it's not just about the music, it's about the art, the feel of how I'm trying to perceive this record to the general population. And I think it's the same with vinyl, having something physical in your hands, going back to playing it, you're making sure that everything is perfect along the way. And I think a lot of that has been lost in digital. There's so many pros and cons to digital streaming now and kind of downloads, but I feel like there's a huge disconnect between the actual artist and the rest of the kind of the rest of the music that's not the music side of things.
It's also like that so much music comes out, right? Like to be able to have something physical gives it a little more shelf life, like more timelessness, that, it's not just gonna, as a DJ, you're not just gonna see it maybe the week it comes out on whatever your services you're buying music or you're getting promos from. And that's it. If you miss it, you miss it. It's gone. You're never going to hear it.
Yeah.
Whereas a record, it's like you could walk into any record shop in the world at any time or stumble on Bandcamp and it still feels like you could play that, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't get old the same way.
Yeah, totally. Do you guys do your albums on vinyl and all of that as well? I take it you do.
Yeah, we do. We've done all our LPs on vinyl. As like for our label too, we release a lot of vinyl, but it's hard. It's hard, especially with like newer artists.
It's expensive.
It's hard to sell 300 copies often,
which is wild. So, it's wild that it's expensive. It's so expensive, and the wait times are so long.
Yep.
But it's all worth it.
And then, like Charlie said, there's a footprint to releasing records.
Totally.
That's much bigger than just digital. So always something to consider. Like if you're gonna, if you're gonna press it and release it, you got to try to make sure you hit the sweet spot with the amount that you're pressing, so you don't end up like wasting all these records.
Yeah.
Eli, what was that guy that like pressed a record into hash?
Yeah, there's been a lot of funny ones. No, press a record from hash.
It was from hash?
Oh, really?
Like that was the lacquer?
Yeah, like he pressed a record made out of hash. People press records made out of funny things. But maybe all Soul Clap records going forward should be pressed onto hash. You can also press records from your like ashes of somebody who's died and been cremated.
That's dark.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's pretty dark.
But we're also I work with this organization called DJs for Climate Action, and we're in the process of releasing a compilation called the Climate Soundtrack. And we're actually releasing the wax is being pressed by this new process that is not PVC.
Okay.
Plastic. So it's still plastic, but it's a much less petroleum heavy type of plastic that they're making the vinyl out of.
Yeah.
So like, PVC is literally just made from petroleum. Yeah. So it's really big footprint on that.
I'm about to drop a new record on kale.
Don't tell the people from Los Angeles, they get jealous.
Yeah. It's going to be sold exclusively in California.
In Whole Foods only.
And it comes with a little package of tahini.
Back to the hash record, though. This was 2017, and some group called Slightly Stupid released a $7,000 smokable weed record.
That's
smokable
so tight,
weed record.
Except for it's so counterproductive because
you don't listen to the music.
Do I listen? Do I smoke? Do I listen? Do I smoke? My favorite record is now gone because I smoked it. My favorite track, you have to only listen to the inside cuts as it gets.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept. I wonder how they actually did that.
I don't know if it's actually playable or if it's just like you can maybe play it, maybe you just smoke it.
I feel like vinyl's more collectible nowadays than people actually playing it. I feel like it's more people just buying the vinyl just to kind of have it on their shelf.
I agree. Many more collectors with vinyl than DJs playing vinyl, I think. Yeah. Which is really funny. Like
it's weird, right?
Really weird. Flipped on its head.
completely.
There's also like a lot of these like really expensive Discogs records, you know, thousands of dollars records. It's not DJs that are buying them, it's collectors. So like they buy it and then it's never heard again.
Yeah.
Something really wrong about that to me.
It weirds me out that, because it's just like the whole point of it is to fucking listen. I can't remember I was listening to a Zane Lowe interview. I can't remember who it was with. I was with Eminem, and Eminem has like a tape collection of like cassette tapes. And he collects like all these tapes, and he'll buy like 2 or 3 of them. So one he can play and one he will never open. I'm just like, so weird. It's fair play, but yes, I don't know. I guess
so
he
has
got that much
thousands,
money.
Maybe millions of unopened cassette tapes.
Yeah.
Damn.
Imagine getting that in the will. Thanks, Dad.
Better give me a number 2 pencil.
Yeah, exactly.
When your shit gets all pulled out, you gotta roll it back in.
Have you seen that meme where it's like got the cassette and a pencil, and it says, "If you don't know the relationship between these two, you're too young to understand."
Yeah.
So good. So I want to go back to when you guys were playing open format to then kind of strictly house music. Like, what happened? What changed?
Well, I mean, it was always, you know, like how, like we were like ravers first, but I also like kind of grew up playing all kinds of music. Like I was, when I started DJing at 14, I started like my first real gig was like at school dances, and like my school was very diverse, and there were a lot of Caribbean kids who just wanted to hear dancehall reggae. So my original DJ partner, Sammy, he was super into dancehall. So like we would play dancehall and hip hop.
Yeah.
And I would always try to play like 1 or 2 house songs, and people would be like, "The fuck is this shit?" Yeah. So like it was kind of always everything for me, but that was like me and Charlie connected over house music because we were both raving and you know, loved house, and a mutual friend introduced us, and we were like kind of connected over that. But I was actually like into like speed garage and drum and bass a lot. Sick. You know, I knew about house, and I was into it, but I wasn't playing it as much. So we met in this like place in between like speed garage and disco house,
for sure.
Which was pretty
fun. Still, like I was listening to your album this morning at the gym, and I was like, there's still mad influence from garage in your records, like
always
mad influence from garage. And it was really interesting because I've listened to the album like in bits and pieces, but I've never just like listened to it all in one, because I don't think we, again, going back to vinyl and CD and like hard copy music, I don't think we listen to things how we used to. But I loved it, and it's interesting how like you guys started with, or your influences were garage and drum and bass and things like that. But it's still now, like you can still hear that in your music. Is it still something that you guys listen to on like a regular? Because my original influences, they're long gone for me personally. Like I don't necessarily, like I love drum and bass. I love garage. I love soulful house. But I wouldn't really say that's kind of part of my influences now so much. What kind of kept it there for you?
You know, I'm sorry, just to go back to vinyl, like I am playing more music from like 1997, 1998 than ever before. And a lot of that is on wax.
That makes sense.
Like, I don't know, maybe I'm stuck in that era, or just maybe, I mean, to me, that's just such an important era in like the canon of electronic music, especially in like what I would like to represent, how I would represent myself in a DJ set. I'm so tapped into my original, that impulse that got me out there, that made me obsessed, because I feel like it's something that is, you know, should remain in contemporary music, because it's just important.
So would you say that's why the influences are still so strong in your music, because you're still listening?
I mean, and if like going, I mean, it's all coming back around as well. Like, I'm just gonna stay right still because like right now we're at like what? It's 2021, right? So we're like at like 1992, 1993 right now. This is like what's hot. There's like rave breaks and shit.
I would say
stay right. If I stay right here, by the time 2025, 27 comes around, I'm gonna be like DJ Mag #1 because this is gonna be like I was just doing the same shit.
Well, two things. One, there's this great Justin Strauss quote that I love to bring up. That like I just keep doing my thing, and every so often people
like it
catch up to it.
Like the culture comes around.
Yeah.
He's the best.
But like I feel like we've always been so like the way we write music has always been kind of very based on like our influences in a lot of ways. It's like looking to the past to create the future.
Yeah,
I think. And also, so I feel like, those influences have always been there, and it's also never stopped. Like I'll always have carried a couple garage records in my bag, no matter what, or like, had them ready to go. And in the right time, you do a little garage set and it feels amazing. And people are like, what the fuck is this? Cause they've never heard of these records before.
Yeah.
Or it's people who love those records and are like, wow, I can't believe I just got to hear these again. Garage, for an example, and also like jungle drum and bass like really came back. I remember like doing being like holy shit, like I'm on Holy Ship. I don't know why I just said I was thinking Holy Ship and I said holy shit, but like and like Justin and Miha and all these folks are like, let's go do a jungle set. And I'm like, wow, I get to play all these jungle tracks. So like I went and ripped a lot of my old jungle records, and that's like something that was kind of always there in the background.
We're here today, and like these songs are just they're still as impactful. Like that is longevity in a piece of electronic music.
I think this is the
like,
thing.
I'm sorry, like some of these big hits that came out, like they may make a splash, but like, is your shit still killing it? Like bringing them life in 2021, and when it was released over 20 years ago, and also like to go into the even more like even more. Even greater longevity and even more impactful. A really funny quote from hanging out with Armand Van Helden down here in Miami is like, "Are they playing your shit at a wedding?"
Yeah.
Like, is your piece of music being played at a wedding? You know what I mean? Because if the answer is yes, then that piece of music is gonna stick around for a while.
And it's timeless.
That's timeless. Yeah.
That's wild to think about that, because his records are being played at weddings.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Respect.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right with the whole it's coming back around, but I think I don't know about you, but I think a lot of it is they were great records at the time, but also now there's whole new generations that have never heard these records.
Right.
And you've just got we're not young, if you know what I mean. We're still referencing old records. We're still playing old records. It's just the generations now are just younger and haven't heard those records. I think.
But there's plenty of young people that haven't heard said bleep bloop womp womp from 20 blah 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 blah.
True.
By whoever.
True.
Like there's tons of that. There's way more of that than there is that one record that everybody still loves and will always love. Yeah. You know what I mean? But maybe there was something to that song. Maybe there was a song format. Maybe there was some songwriting or something that went into the structure of this piece of music. It's not just it was dope. It's like this is the craft. And like the further we remove ourselves from the art of making music, songwriting, whatever it is, the more like bloop-de-bloop will exist. And some of it will maybe break through, but I love a groove and I play a lot of grooves. But
I think that's the thing. If you think about it, back then they were writing records on 2 or 3 bits of equipment. It goes back to what we were talking about, having a bag of vinyls and only having 20 vinyls to play or 100 vinyls to play. Like back then they only had a certain amount of equipment to make music on, so they had to make.
Wait a minute, Will, but like. Let's talk about disco for a second. That's like a whole friggin' orchestra. Like,
yeah, but that's just being sampled, right?
Yeah, I'm saying that like whatever it was, whether it was DJ so and so on an MPC, and or SP like just making it work with samples, or like an orchestral composition by Patrick Adams in the disco days
Yeah.
with like 150 channels going at once. Like the art of the music writing, like this is something that needs to be paid attention to, and that's something that's should be a focal point for producers, I think.
No, I totally agree with you. I don't disagree, and I think it's something that you guys get across very well in your music as well. It's very organic, and I think that's maybe that's kind of where we're hitting the nail on the head. Is that a lot of these like I was at in San Diego on the weekend, and I was watching MK play, and he played Burnin', and that was released in 1991, and still sounds fucking unbelievable.
Yo,
like on another level. It holds up against any record nowadays. You could play that. You could play that in a techno set. You can play that in a disco set. You can play that in a house set. You can play that at your wedding, and it still sounds unbelievable. Why do you think it's music like that's not being made so much now?
Well, I would argue, I was going to say, I think there's a ton of songwriting in electronic music right now, like maybe the most in years, just because there's such a crossover and like genre walls coming down, and like, you know, popular music is electronic music in such a deep level at this point, you know? So like, there's like a whole thread of more like kind of contemporary R&B with like,
a house beat,
drum and bass, instrumentals, and garage instrumentals, you know, like Rochelle Jordan, who I've you know, one of my favorite albums this year. But then like, because that's in my algorithm now on Spotify, I'm like getting some random British artists that are making like, you know, ethereal drum and bass with like weird R&B vocals, or like, you know, so there's a lot of this happening, but maybe more in the pop space that's bringing in the dance music rather than the dance music space bringing pop music.
Well, I think that's the thing.
I wonder
in the UK, in the UK, we still like house music is still number one records. Like we still have pop house records are the top 10 is always littered with house music at the end of the day, whether it's timeless house music. I don't know. Charlie, what were you going to say?
I would say, I was thinking, just like back in the day, 80s and 90s, you know, there is a real correlation between some of these records and appearing in the billboards, you know, whether that's in the UK or the US, like, you know, some of these records, they're not only anthemic in the underground, but also existing on the radio in the mainstream. So, you know, this is like maybe an interesting time where you can have that duality to songs again. We'll see. I was like, you know, thinking to inner city big fun or something like that.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Chris Lake about this the other week on the podcast. That there's not often many instrumental records that do well. Everything's kind of got to be that pop, like what was the last?
Wait a minute, Chris Lake has made all types of big instrumental, like what's his Fisher record? It's a huge record, right?
Yeah, but I guess as of that was a fucking massive hit.
A big record. Well, compared to like a true pop record.
Yeah. Well, I guess it hit that did. You're right. That did better than most pop records. To be fair.
Didn't they like get a Grammy for that or something?
I don't think they did. Almost. I think they got nominated. What's your process though when going in the studio and kind of working out? Because one of the records that stood out the most to me, and I'm gonna pull it up because I'm gonna fuck the title up, but I think it was What If There's No America?
Ooh. Yeah.
Like
with Nona Hendryx?
Yeah, like that it like really struck a chord with me. Like the production, the lyrics, just the general vibe of the record. Like, what is the kind of message behind that?
Well, I mean, that one, Nona Hendryx is an artist we've been working with now for years. She was on our last album with the song Shine. Uplifting, positive house track. And then we produced her most recent EP after that.
Give the listener a little just a
well,
mini,
yeah. So I was gonna say, but like she goes way back before us. Like she was in the group LaBelle and Patti LaBelle's group, and before it was Patti LaBelle's group, she was in the Bluebells, what they were called. And so she grew up part of this world of soul and R&B, and kind of came of age in that time of the 60s going into the 70s, when soul and R&B was in many ways protest music and civil rights music. And she was writing a lot of the music, but also their whole image of LaBelle kind of transformed multiple times in like this kind of like radical, wearing these costumes and female empowerment and all these kind of really important messages and inspiration in the music. And then she wanted to have an incredible solo career through the 80s, very involved in the world of funk and connected with P-Funk and working with a lot of those musicians. And now she's, really into technology, and she teaches at Berkeley and is like developing like AI video games with different folks. And like, so she's an incredible musician, person, inspiration, activist. Right. Yeah. So when we went and like, the idea of our album is this WTF, World Transformation Force, where we're trying to, inspire action and with the music. So, immediately we're like, well, we have to bring in Nona to do some kind of piece on here. And we kind of ended up this idea for a spoken word piece together, like talking about these themes, pre-election themes, what's happening in our country, and how can we comment on that. So we talked through these ideas with her, and then she went and wrote this piece, which was actually to another instrumental initially. And we went and recorded it in New York with Morgan Wiley, used to be the keyboard player for Midnight Magic, band on our label, who we've been working with for years. We did Nona's EP with Morgan. Morgan has been a frequent collaborator, both as like a engineer and also like co-producer, and just incredible musician who's featured on our music a lot. And so I was with Morgan, and we're like, it didn't really fit the instrumental ultimately. So we just went and Morgan just laid down some new synths under the vocals, and he kind of, instead of the vocal then riding the instrumental, it then became the instrumental rode the vocals. Yeah. Totally. So that ended up being a cool flip on the idea. So that's a typical kind of process for us often. Something starts as one thing, then goes through multiple iterations and ends up as something completely different.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. How important is it for you guys to collaborate with other people, though?
I'd say it's like sort of half-half, because some stuff like we're able to really get across, but sometimes you just, I think to make something, to take it really over the top, it might require that extra synth line from Morgan Wiley, or hand percussion from Kaito, or whatever it is, or guest vocalist. But other times it's me singing and Eli playing saxophone. Like we're able to get it done, but I think that when you bring in the community, then it just levels up the finished product.
Or like on our current album, we co-produced a lot of that with Lee Curtis in LA, in his little garage studio. Like that was really helpful to have. I think for albums, like it's really helpful to have somebody else's ear who can then be like, this is how this all fits together.
Yep.
Like a third person that's not emotionally attached to the music.
Exactly.
Yeah, someone's got to be your Rick Rubin,
Yeah. Have you ever done that to other people's records? Like produced other people's records?
I've done a little bit of that working with Life on Planets Phil, and in a couple other situations, just helping out. And I know Eli, you have as well.
Yeah, no, well, there's the Nona one that we all did together, that Nona Hendryx one I was talking about before. But I do like, I A&R the label, so there's kind of like a lot of, I guess, executive production stuff that I've worked on with different artists over the years.
Yeah.
So that's it's great to have the two different, be able to do both sides, right? Where you can kind of have that more impartial. I love this music because of this, but it could be better this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts when someone gives you feedback on that?
Fuck you.
Yeah, literally.
I mean, I think that feedback is important, and I think like constructive criticism is key. If you are given constructive criticism and you can separate yourself from your attachment and your ego to it, and that helps you, then it can be very helpful. But at the same token, like, this is our creative. These are creative works, and sometimes you're trying to express a particular thing as a creator, and that's what it is. You don't like. Yeah, I would walk up to a painting and say, I don't like the blue. Maybe the whole thing is that some people are going to walk away feeling a certain particular way about something. So I think it can be complex.
Totally. I totally agree with that. It's hard sometimes hearing feedback, especially when you've spent you're using your lifetime of skills into one project, and then somebody literally just comes and is like, "Oh, you should do this, you should do that to make it better." And
Yeah, but like,
fuck.
what was the should do and should not? Like, because maybe it's like you should add and it really clutters, or maybe they're saying you should subtract and like suddenly it clears things up. I don't know. It's just, this is one of those case by case things, probably.
Totally. World Transformation Force. I love what you guys are kind of doing to promote the world and having great
Earth. Check it out.
Yeah,
it's dope.
But you know what I mean? Like, you're. It's a greater message rather than just fucking here's an album, here's some music. This is go listen to it. It's a bigger picture. When did that all start for you? And like, yeah, what was the shift for you to be like, we need to make a change. We need to do something to really make a change.
Eli, you're on mute.
Yeah, there's multiple parts to that kind of progress, I guess. I think, like, for me over the years, it felt like that. I mean, I really believe in the power of playing, music for people, and especially like positive vibrations, and, connecting with people on that level, and the positivity and the uplifting and the, I think it does save and create great positivity in the world. But I've felt for a long time, like, like that's not enough. And, both my parents were activists in their own ways, in their worlds. And so for me, like, the first experience was I got involved with DJs for Climate Action, maybe like 2013 or 14, when my friend Sammy Bananas founded it as a way to offset carbon emissions from flying for DJs. So, I'd known him before. We started talking about it, and over the years I got more involved, and
Gosh,
I'm like,
been that long, since 2013.
Yeah, I was living in Boston the first year he did it, so it's wild.
That's wild.
But so I got more involved, like, kind of on the board of the group now. So that was one way, that I've been more involved. But then really the idea for this album was a lot, like, we wanted to put this out before the US election in 2020. Like, this was like, we recorded a lot of the ideas for this in March 2019, right? When I went to Miami for a month. And so, yeah, originally that was the plan. We're like, well, let's get this out, before the election, try to get people to vote and, like, care about what's happening.
Totally.
So that was kind of the impetus here for making more of like a statement, like trying to, get people thinking and doing things with this music. But I think it's always like a constant question, to ask as an artist. It's like, how do you bring it into your music? Can you bring it into your music? At this moment, does it feel right? Are we writing music just to write music, or do we want to write this music to try to have other power resonate in other ways? But then also, like, using our platform is another big part of it, right? Like, being political, taking stands on things, which I think is like part of the fabric of being a musician, of being an artist. Like culture comments and moves forward, change.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a difficult conversation. And I know, like, with social media, often people have a reaction like, stay out of politics or stay out of this. You're a musician. I just want to listen to your music. You ruin your music for me now. And that's fine if a few people feel like that. But I do think that like kind of is a very narrow-minded view of what music and culture is. Because I think culture both comments and creates what our society cares about and moves our society forward.
So what is this person's definition of music? What are they listening to? These folks, you know.
Well,
have you ever heard everyone? Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye.
Going further back, like folk music, Peter, Paul, and Mary, or like things like that.
Peter, Paul, and Mary. Folk
music.
It's a Peter, Paul, and Mary. Damn it!
Music in the 50s. Bob Dylan. I mean, music in the 50s and 60s was like
for sure
essential to the movement.
Even before that, even in the the slave camps and things like that, like that was all based on music. Like the music that they had back then was just all based on politics, really, on what was happening in their kind of plantation.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, if you're being oppressed and music is a method of uprising, you know, this is what they can't take from us. They can't take our songs.
Yeah.
And there's some correlation to recording music, but, you know, I just think that is just this idea that music should be devoid of message is just so ignorant, man. It's incredible. And not to say that there isn't just a vibe. Music can be a vibe and it can make you feel a way. But like, you know, this is an interesting conceptual idea that, you know, the emotion that you put into the recording can be received by the listener. You know?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think my views on
soul music touches the soul, you know?
Yeah, for me, I think when writing music, there's always a message behind it, but for me, it's more so about bringing people together rather than trying to be like. I think especially nowadays, politics as a such is actually dividing people more so, and I think for me is like music, especially the house music. For me, it's about like taking political views away from the dance floor and really bringing all people together, because realistically,
but here's a question: you got them together on the dance floor. Now what are they gonna do? Now, not like what, you know, can you give something? Are they gonna walk away and make a change from that experience? You know, can you impart something onto somebody? You got them together. I agree with you. The vibrations brings them together, but now they're together. So what's next, you know?
Yeah, I think I agree with that to a certain extent. I think also there comes a point where sometimes just getting people together, they can then make their own decisions whilst they're together, and kind of moving. I find half the issue with politics at this moment in time is that you can't even get those people together. You say one thing, and just because somebody is on one side to another, it's the same in the UK. It's the same all around the world. So the minute you take that kind of barrier out of it, there's
also an important like piece of like the escapism. Like you're going out, you're going to dance, often to dance to get away from things and to get away from that and not think about that. But that's why I think there's some universal things. Like there's some universal things that can go beyond politics, right? And that like obviously there's going to be some people that it might turn off, but like the majority is going to be like, this feels good.
Feels right.
This feels like what we need together.
But like, you know, also, you know, we're not like putting out a record that's called vote yes on Proposition 231. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about like on Back to Love, we're talking about time is burning down. The moment is now.
Yeah.
Too much hate going around. Gotta go back to love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're like, no, I do not like this. This does not resonate with me. I am leaving the dance floor. Like you got something going on. Like you got to check yourself. Like what? You know what I mean? So, you know, I don't know how you can argue with some of this stuff.
Well, no, but it's a lot. It's like, you know, it's this idea that like I agree with you on like, yeah, I pretty much agree with you, Will, in that it's like culture, like there is this importance of bringing people together, but I also think like beyond that, like culture has the power to go to transcend politics in a way, to change somebody's minds without the political piece of it, right? Like to be like, you know, say for climate change, you know, like something that is not about the politics of it, but like you can actually reach somebody on a deeper level of like they've come together on the dance floor and can now go out and think about something differently.
I also think
that's power. That's not easy. That's a very difficult thing to do with music.
No, it is. I also think conversation is something that lacks nowadays. It's very easy to tweet your 200 characters or however many you have, or on Instagram, or put a short video up, but there's no one having long conversation about anything really. Like podcast is the only kind of long conversation. Even TV is all edited. Everything's edited to your political the station's political views. Like, and I think that's the issue for me at this moment in time. Really, is that there's not enough people having proper conversations about shit that's going on.
I agree. I mean, I agree completely. Like that was for us doing our schmoozing with Soul Clap show on the Twitch. That was what was so amazing about that. Was like in these times when there was so much heated conversation and so much going on with Black Lives Matter, with, you know, COVID and like the two sides of COVID and the election and all these things, to be able to have deeper conversations, the kind of things you can't bring out in social media. It's just not possible because people are too, you know, like you said, you can't have that conversation with short form. You know, it's more just like yelling at each other.
Yeah, it's pointless.
This is what I think. And someone else says, well, this is what I think. And someone else, that's what I think. And like, there is none. There is no actual conversation. So to be able to have these long form conversations with podcasts or other like, long form talk is so important.
And there's no right or wrong answer. That's the issue, is we're all just chucking our opinion. Well, there are right and wrong answers in certain things.
But it's also gray, man. It's mostly gray. You know, it's not black and white. It's not yes and no. There's so much of it is it's not, you know, gay and straight. It's non-binary, baby. That's the world we live in now.
So good. So what's the plans for the rest of the year for you boys? It's been a wild one, right?
You know what? We're actually we're actually about to embrace 20 years of Soul Clap.
Fuck! Congratulations. That's amazing.
You know what I mean? In doing so, we're hoping to, you know, we'll see if we can hit the mark, but we're hoping to release like 20 singles. What is it, in 2022? Is that
20 pieces of music? It might not be all singles. Maybe do some edits.
20 pieces of music.
Some remixes.
Edits, remixes, this, that's, lots of stuff. Maybe some revamps from the vaults. But that would be great if we can get it done. We'll see if we can get as much done as possible. But gearing up for that. We just put out this. I just put out a record on Soul Clap Records last week. My remix, Charlie Soul Clap remixes of the Space Lady, which is super super dope. And we just put with our Krangbin Soul Clap remix came out, and that's being celebrated. And so it sounds so dope.
Sounds great.
That band's so dope.
Yeah. It's great.
Are you a fan? Do you listen to that shit?
Yeah, I love it.
20 before all that, before we there's other stuff, like we still, you know, the album just came out in April. So we're almost done with videos for every track.
Cool.
So we're gonna drop a video album with all of it mixed together into one.
Oh really? So it's like a short
visual
film
experience.
Nice.
That will run on our Twitch channel. You know, we're still streaming on Twitch a couple times a week. That's Soul Clap Music on Twitch. And we're also, you know, of course we got the remixes, you know, as DJs. It's so important to have remixes of your music. It just feels so good to hear somebody else interpret your idea.
No, I agree. Can you
back to the garage thing. There's a ton of garage remixes for the Soul Clap remixes. We got Jeremy Sylvester from Nice and Ripe. We've got Todd Edwards doing a remix. We've got you did a garage remix? Are you doing?
I'm working on one,
remix?
yeah. And there's also Prescribed the Vibe, more of a new underground cat from Kiwi Records.
Sick.
So yeah, and also our homie Shane from Miami, American dude, turned out a straight up garage mix.
That's amazing.
That was really surprising and cool.
Yeah, under his alias Bruv, which is very dope. And he is also
That's such a good name.
what was he got? He got a medal as in judo. He's a black belt judo national.
What, he was in Tokyo?
Titleist. What?
Is he at the Olympics?
No, not in the Olympics.
Oh,
Not in the Olympics. But in nationals.
What's it like?
So watch out.
What's it like being in a duo collaboration for 20 years? Like, that's longer than most people's marriages.
Roller coaster.
Yeah, there's a lot of ups and downs, man. That's for sure.
Roller coaster.
Yeah,
A lot of ups and downs. We're actually, we're having we're trying a therapist for the first time tomorrow. We've worked through a lot of shit ourselves, but there's been some real lows, been some real highs. Right now, we feel like we're in a really good place. So cool, interesting time to try to work on some of the lingering shit. Just like with the marriage, you got to fucking do the work, man.
So are you actually going to do therapy?
We actually are gonna, like a business.
I think it's good. I think we both come from backgrounds where like therapy is, my parents are my father's psychoanalyst, my mother's social worker, Eli's mom is a child
psychologist.
So this is like, this is a good thing. Therapy is a great way to talk about some of the hard stuff, and communication is the key. And just it relates to what we were just talking about with the message in the music, communication, and you're talking about long form conversations, so necessary. Communication is the key. And if all you're doing is sending emotes to each other, then like you never really know what each other are saying.
Yeah, my family, my parents are both therapists as well.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and it is key, man.
So you're fucked up like me, right, bro?
It was just like constant conversations about feelings when you're younger. It was my brother. My brother was like classic. He was like, he said to my mum and dad, was like, can't you just why are you making us talk about our feelings? Why can't you just hit us like every other parent? And it was just like this classic. Sorry. He's like, no, we can't do this. Hey.
Hi, Alma.
Hey.
Alma's having a hard time. Can you say hi?
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
Amazing.
All right, Will, I got a jet, but thank you so much.
Let's wrap this one up. Thank you so much, guys, for being on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Will. Thank you for having this platform and for hosting dope conversations and having a healthy beard.
Oh yeah, always the healthy beard. Keep in touch. Let's hopefully see you on the road at some point.
For sure.
Keep safe, lads. Take care.
Hit you up next time we're in Detroit.
Yeah, please do. Please do. Peace out. See ya. And that is a wrap. Thank you so much for Eli and Charlie to come on the show. It was amazing. Don't forget to go check out their album, subscribe, share the podcast, do what you want to do. I hope you enjoy it. Big love. Keep safe. See you next time.